Part 3, Chapter 10. Try easier. The less tension and effort, the faster and more powerful you will be. Bruce Lee. The way to run faster is with 4/5 effort. Just take it nice and easy. Bud Winters. Just as Tiger Woods does now, Sam Snead dominated professional golf in his prime because he outdistanced the rest of the field. Snead didn't appear to drive the ball with muscle. On the contrary, the man who years after retirement age remained so loose-limbed he could bend over and place his palms flat against the ground was poetry in motion. Snead played golf to waltz time. His tempo was as smooth as his tone in his voice when he addressed his friends on the tee. "I believe in giving the ball some sweet talk," Snead once said. "This isn't going to hurt a bit," I whispered under my breath. "Sambo is just going to give you a little ride." When Ken Griffey Jr. steps to the plate, he doesn't grind his bat handle into sawdust. "I'm not that strong," Griffey said. "I probably only bench press about 200 pounds. The source of his power isn't brute strength, but rather leverage, flexibility, and range of motion. I don't consider myself a home run hitter, but when I'm seeing the ball and hitting it hard, it will go out of the park." Sports glorify strength. Coaches demand that athletes give 110%, ignoring the fact that it's mathematically impossible. Truth is, muscle and strength aren't everything. Overtraining leads to underperforming. Trying harder, which athletes do when they tense up under pressure, oftentimes is counterproductive. Bud Winters, one of America's most successful track and field coaches, told his athletes, "Just take it nice and easy." Jay Novak, the tight end on the Dallas Cowboys' early 90s Super Bowl teams, ran track in college. We were working out together one day when Jay told me about an experiment his coach performed. Novak and his teammates were instructed to run 800 meters as fast as they could. Later, the coach had them run the same distance, only at 90% of top speed. "What surprised me and all of us," Novak said, "was that our times were better when we ran at 90% than when we went all out." What's the explanation? Voluntary muscles are organized into opposing pairs. Running and many other sports are performed most effectively when some muscles are contracting while others are relaxing. Running at top speed, athletes use all of their muscles, the antagonists and antagonists. They are accelerating and braking at the same time. The muscles are at odds. This prevents them from running as fast as they can. Giving 90% effort, runners expand a lot more muscular energy, but they relax the antagonistic muscles that hinder the maximum performance. The same is true in pitching. Trying to throw a ball as hard as he can, a pitcher uses all of his muscles in his arms. But to achieve accuracy and speed, flexor muscles, the biceps, need to relax, while extensor muscles, triceps, do most of the work. Nolan Ryan's major league career spanned the administrations of 6 U.S. presidents. Baseball's strikeout king threw very hard, but he didn't overthrow, which is one reason for his longevity. The tendency of the fastball pitcher is to muscle up and do what he needs to do, Ryan said. He winds up lugging and losing his rhythm, trying to muscle the ball in there. Everybody has limits. You just have to learn what your own limits are and deal with them accordingly. My tennis partner, Brad Harper, continuously reminds me to relax on my serve. Max, spaghetti arm. Under pressure, we tend to muscle up. When my arm is loose, I'm better able to snap my wrist and generate more power. Mark Connor, the Toronto Blue Jays pitching coach, demonstrates the physiology by having his pitchers swing a long-handled switch. First, with the large muscles in their arm, and then using a quick wrist flick. Pitchers are taught to grip a baseball as if it were an egg, but in the heat of competition, some squeeze it as if they were choking a chicken. The most common physical cause of error in golf and perhaps all of sports is over-tightness. Over tightening muscles to produce power actually creates a loss of power and accuracy. Instead of relaxing and releasing, the golfer starts tensing, which hurts coordination. Bobby Jones said that an anxious player impulse is to steer the ball, which counts for most bad shots. In the Know Your Numbers section, we compared tension with guitar strings. If the strings are too loose, the music is flat. If they are too tight, the strings will snap. You should always be able to feel the grip of the bat, the club, or the racket. If you can't, your grip is too tight. I wait and let the ball get right on top of me and just swing with a loose grip, says Tony Gwynn, one of baseball's best hitters. If you can't feel your swing, you're swinging too fast or too hard. Willie McGee once complained to his hitting coach that he couldn't relax. Willie Bernardo Leonard told the player, "An anxious mind cannot exist in a relaxed body. When one is anxious, so is the other. When one is at rest, so is the other." In the same way you create stress and tension, you also create relaxation. The goal of relaxation training is to teach you how to recognize the early warning signs of tension and to counter or replace them with the sensation of relaxation. Interestingly, one of the ways to relax tense muscles is to first tighten them more. If your shoulders feel like coiled springs, draw them up and squeeze those muscles. Hold the pose for 5 to 10 seconds. Feel the stress and study the sensation. Then release and relax the muscles completely. If you can relax your body, you can relax your mind. Quiet mind, quiet body. Chapter 11. Simply observe. You can observe a lot just by watching. Yogi Berra. It's not between me and the pitcher, it's between me and the ball. Matt Williams. Years ago, working as a photojournalist in New York, I read a book called Inner Tennis. In one chapter, author Tim Gallwey shares a simple teaching technique that is rooted in one of the most important principles in sports psychology. Gallwey describes giving a lesson to a woman who had never played tennis. As expected, she felt nervous and self-conscious. Instead of filling her head with a mental list of commands to remember each time she swung, racket back, bend your knees, step in, and hit, her teacher kept the instructions simple. Gallwey told the student to say bounce each time the ball landed in front of her and to say hit each time the ball hit her racket. Bounce, hit, bounce, hit, bounce, hit. When she followed the advice, the student began to relax. She wasn't preoccupied with form and technique, and she wasn't worrying about outcome. Her eyes were fixated on the target. Her mind was focused on the task. In playing sports, we tend to overanalyze. Go to 10 golf instructors and you may get 10 different verbal cues on how to take the club head away from the ball. Intake, hip turn, transfer your weight, keep the left arm straight, and trigger the downswing. Some well-meaning instructors make the game too complex. The old joke is that if golf instructors taught sex education, it would be the end of civilization as we knew it. Part of the brain is always thinking, analyzing, computing, and judging. When I worked with the Cubs, Richie Zisk was the team's bat doctor. His official title was Doctor of Batology. Zisk referred to the overthinking, overanalyzing, critical voice in a batter's head as the chattering monkey. When you're at the plate or on the tee or on the tennis court and you're listening to all this mental commentary, this verbal static, do you think you can perform at your best? Of course not. This should be your goal. Play with your eyes, not your ideas. I see the ball, I hit the ball. Ken Griffey Jr. says, at the plate, he isn't thinking about swinging, playing, or the position of his elbow. Matt Williams doesn't concern himself with the biography or resume of the pitcher he is facing. His eyes are zeroed in on one thing, the baseball. Listen to former pitcher Orel Hershiser. Once my catcher and I determined the pitch. That's all there is. There's nobody standing there then. I don't think about the next game, the next inning, the next hitter, the next play. There's only the next pitch. And it's the only job I have. Tom Seaver said when he was on the mound, he blocked everything out. Forget that the second baseman just muffled a double play ball, or that the umpire is missing a lot of calls, or that your wife just charged $700 at Bloomingdale's. Bounce hit. Focus on the target. Set your mind on the task. In the movie, For Love of the Game, Kevin Costner plays an aging major leaguer pitcher at the end of his career. In his final game, while struggling with fatigue and pain, he uses a mental technique to help him focus on the task. It is triggered by a verbal command. Clear the mechanism. He tells himself. Suddenly, he becomes detached. He is no longer in Yankee Stadium. He doesn't hear the crowd. He doesn't see the players around him. And he even blocks out the hitter menacingly waving his bat. He isn't analyzing the situation. He is inside a cocoon of concentration. Jack Nicklaus calls concentration a fine antidote for anxiety. On the mound, the pitcher is in a world of calm. He is living in his eyes, which are trained on the target. All he can see is the pocket of his catcher's mitt. In his book, Golf My Way, Nicklaus talks about the single-minded imagery he uses before hitting a shot. It's like a color movie, Nicklaus writes. First, I see the ball where I want it to finish, nice and white and sitting up high on the bright green grass. Then, the scene quickly changes, and I see the ball going there, its path, trajectory, and shape, even its behavior on landing. Then there's sort of a fade out, and the next scene shows me making the kind of swing that will turn the previous images into reality. It is said the eyes are the mirrors to the soul. They also are the mirror to the mind. With great athletes, their eyes aren't searchlights. They aren't even spotlights. They are laser beams. During a game in Seattle, Arizona, Cardinals quarterback Jake Plummer took a beating. The Seahawks pass rushers sacked him 7 times. Late in the game, when the young quarterback returned to the huddle, his veteran left tackle, Lomas Brown, gave him a watchful look. "Jake," Brown said, "let me see your eyes." "Why the eyes?" "The eyes," Brown said, speaking from experience, "tell it all." Brown could see in Plummer's eyes if the quarterback had lost his confidence or given up. He could tell if Jake was still there, mentally playing in the present. When an athlete's eyes start to wander, so will his mind. Darting eyes are usually not fixed on the task at hand. Yogi was right when he said you can observe a lot just by watching. In working with athletes, I have them view a videotape of themselves performing at their best. The imagery is more instructive than words. They absorb the images and the positive feelings. What are you doing? Get down. Get down. Hi. They absorb the images and the positive feelings. They begin to lose their analytical mind and come to their senses. Do you play with your eyes? How well do you concentrate on the target? Bodybuilder Arnold Schwarzenegger gets visualizers as a specific muscle's contour when he is working out. A pump when I see the muscle I want. He said, it's worth 10 with my mind drifting. One exercise you may find helpful is to pick up an object, a tennis ball, a golf ball, a baseball, or a glove. Hold it, look at it, study it, contemplate it. When your thoughts begin to wander, return your full attention to the object. The exercise will improve your ability to focus and help increase awareness of where your mind goes. Chapter 12. The bottom line. The will to win is important, but the will to prepare to win is vital. Joe Paterno. Failing to prepare is preparing to fail. Wayne Gretzky. Sylvie Bernier had a history of caving in during pressure situations. But now she stood on the top step of the platform, beaming, as the French-Canadian springboard diver turned her eyes to her country's flag and sang the national anthem. The only thing that kept her from rising off the medal stand and floating away like a parted balloon was the anchoring weight of the gold medal around her neck. The experience was everything Sylvie had hoped it would be. From the moment she arrived at the pool, her day went exactly as she had imagined and rehearsed over and over in her mind. I knew I was going to dive the 6th of August at 4 o'clock in the afternoon in the finals, Bernier recalled in the video, Mind Over Muscle. I knew where the scoreboard was going to be, on my left. I knew where the coaches were going to be sitting. Everything was in my head. I knew where the crowd was going to be. I could see my dives exactly how I wanted them to be. When I went to the podium, I had seen it before. It was just like a deja vu. The 20-year-old champion from Quebec won because she came to the biggest event of her life fortified with what every athlete needs: confidence. What do you think is the most important part of the mental game? It's a question I've asked hundreds of managers, coaches, and professional athletes during plane flights and bus rides to stadiums over the past 20 years. The answer is always the same. It's confidence. When you're confident, you can relax, trust your stuff, and perform at your best. Confidence is the bottom line. Where does confidence come from? Great athletes say that confidence is knowing they are prepared physically and mentally. Experience tells them what to do, and confidence allows them to do it. Confidence is the emotional knowing that you are prepared, mind, body, and spirit, for anything. Alan Bernassi is the Vince Lombardi of fire chiefs. The head of Phoenix Fire Department made an interesting comment about confidence. He told me that confidence is knowing what to do when you don't know what to do. Louis Pasteur never fought a four-alarm blaze under a desert sun or coached a team in the Super Bowl. But the words of the 19th century scientist apply to firefighters, football players, Olympic divers, and every other performer. Chance, Pasteur said, favors the prepared mind. Or as golfer Tom Kite said, give luck a chance to happen. Get down. Get down. Stop. Throughout this book, we stress that mental preparation is as important as physical preparation, if not more so. Television broadcaster Ahmad Rashad, a former All-Pro NFL receiver, said, "Some players with a lot of athletic ability just go out and play. Then after 4 or 5 years, you don't hear about them anymore. The smart guys figure it all out, and then they play 10, 12 years. They do it mentally more than they do it physically. Confidence is the result of preparation, and preparation begins with forming a mental game plan. The great athletes visualize not only best case scenarios, but also worst case scenarios. They didn't image failing. They don't imagine failing, but they do mentally plan how they will respond in unpleasant and difficult situations. In sports, the ball takes funny or not so funny bounces. Oftentimes, games or contests don't go as we hope. The prepared athlete has not only a plan A, but also a plan B and a plan C. Reggie Jackson called winning the science of preparation. And preparation can be defined in 3 words. Jackson said, leave nothing undone. No detail is too small. When our astronauts trained for the first flight to the moon, they rehearsed for everything going wrong as well as for everything going right. If something out of the ordinary happened, they knew how to respond. They over-prepared so they wouldn't underperform. During the playoffs, former NFL quarterback Fran Tarkenton prepared for the upcoming game by seeing himself in his mind's eye, performing in difficult situations. I'm trying to visualize every game situation, every defense they're going to throw at me. Tarkenton said, I tell myself, what will I do? What will I do on their 5-yard line and it's 3rd and goal to go? And short passing game hasn't been going too well, and their lines look like a wall and we're 6 points behind. The marquee athlete uses the mind to program the body. Listen to Nolan Ryan, the Hall of Fame pitcher, describe his routine. The night before a game, I lie down, close my eyes, relax my body, and prepare myself for the game. I go through the entire lineup of the other team, one batter at a time. I visualize exactly how I am going to pitch to each hitter, and I see and feel myself throwing exactly the pitches that I want to throw. Before I ever begin to warm up at the ballpark, I faced all the opposition's hitters 4 times, and I've gotten my body ready for exactly what I want it to do. When you're relaxed, you're in a more receptive state for positive affirmations and visualizations. Steve Carlton, the former strikeout artist with the Phillies, had his own pregame routine. Like Ryan, Carlton would stretch out on a training table and close his eyes. A lot of people think he's sleeping, said Tim McCraver, who was Carlton's coach, but he wasn't thinking about. But what he's thinking about are lanes in the strike zone. Jesus. He thinks about the outer lane and the inner lane. He doesn't even think about anything over the middle. And by not thinking about it, he gets himself working that way. ESPN announcer Harold Reynolds, Jesus, I'm messing up today, used imagery when he played second base for the Mariners. Also, as I'm running my sprints, I'll listen to the lineup and visualize where I want to play this guy. The night before, I'll make mental and physical notes about how they pitched and played me. I'll write down the guy's moves, whether he might want to go right after me or nibble with me. I've got to be ready for that. Olympic champion Bart Conner mentally rehearsed his performance. In the book, What Makes Winners Win, Conner said he saw himself as a gymnast doing his routine, feeling the rhythm and the timing. Then, I try to visualize as if I were the person who was standing back and watching me perform, Conner said. And that's a little different picture. I was always at my best when I saw that picture. It's like you once had visualized it. You see the scene, you see the gym, you see the judges, you see the arena. You see where the equipment is, you see where the chalk tray is, you see everything. So when you actually go to perform, it's like, oh, I've been here before. Then you have such confidence because it's like you've already been through this. Just as you wouldn't go into a baseball game without taking batting practice, don't go into your competition without taking mental practice. Visualize yourself performing, see the action, feel yourself moving, hear the sounds, smell the smells. Make your images as vivid and clear as you can. Sweet. Part 4 in a little bit.